Ukrainian troops have launched another deadly air strikes on a Russian military position with a US glide bomb. MiG-29 fighter aircraft belonging to the Ukrainian army has launched US-produced GBU62 bombs at a semi-destroyed house where Russian infantry troops were hiding. As a result of the strike, 6 Russian infantrymen were killed. Video footage capturing the moment of the strikes on the Russian position has been shared in social media. One Russian soldier was killed in the toilet, while 5 others were eliminated when GBU62 bomb hit through the window of the room where the troops had gathered. One bomb was jammed by electronic warfare system, according to the report. GBU62 bombs, also known as Joint Direct Attack Munition Extend Range, JDAMR, is capable of striking targets dozens of kilometers and has been repeatedly used in Ukraine's long-range strikes on Russian positions, reducing Kiev's aircraft losses. The glide bomb's design makes it particularly effective against command posts, ammunition storage facilities, fuel depots, bridge components. It should be noted that the Ukrainian aviation strikes on Russian military positions in the occupied territories, as well as in Russia's border regions, have been increased in recent months. As a result of strikes with Western-made aerial bombs, a significant number of enemy Russian troops and military equipment have been destroyed. The ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine and the associated growing economic difficulties have intensified protest sentiments in our southern neighbor. Recently, the authoritative American newspaper The Wall Street Journal reported that some members of Vladimir Putin's inner circle in the Kremlin may turn against him. Earlier, the National Security Journal said that voices of discontent are increasingly being heard in Russia, even within the military. Among the military, both active and retired, frustration is growing over Vladimir Putin's failed strategy in the war against Ukraine. Many generals believe that the Kremlin's actions are not only leading to disaster at the front but are also destroying the very state. Even before the invasion began in February 2022, retired Colonel General Leonid Ivashov, the former head of the All-Russian Officers' Assembly, sounded the alarm. He publicly called on Putin to resign, warning that the real threat to Russia was not NATO, but corruption, a demographic crisis, and incompetent leadership. After the war began, Ivashov only intensified his criticism, declaring that the conflict with Ukraine would lead to the destruction of Russian statehood and mass casualties. In December 2024, the general compared Putin's regime to that of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, noting that the Kremlin was heading down the same path, toward internal collapse and international isolation. According to him, Russia was turning into a besieged fortress, where decisions were being made not by military professionals, but by people out of touch with reality. According to Ivashov, the gap between professional military personnel and the Kremlin elite has become obvious. The former are forced to bear responsibility for failures at the front, while the latter continue to advance their careers and grow rich amid the war. Alina Polyakova, president of the Center for European Policy Analysis, added that the Russian dictator has no interest in ending the conflict, as any ceasefire without victory would make him look weak. She added that there are people in Putin's inner circle who would like to see him go, and, as soon as he shows weakness, his reign will be over. At the same time, the Kremlin continues to claim that Russia is capable of fighting forever, yet the aggressor state's economy continues to suffer serious losses. Analysts note that potential measures, including money printing, rising inflation, cuts to social spending, and a shift from voluntary to forced mobilization, could exacerbate internal tensions within society, which are already noticeably growing. Many Russians do not support Putin's strategy of destroying Ukraine at any cost. The symbol of the silent protest has been the arrests of street musicians performing songs banned by the regime, including Swan Lake by rapper Noise MC, dedicated to the death of the dictator.
In the Zaporizhia direction, Discipline in the 108th Airborne Assault Regiment of the Russian Army has sharply deteriorated. The unit massively abuses alcohol, which leads to soldiers dying from poisoning, failing to perform tasks, and creating dangerous situations at the front. The command is hiding the problem, which leads to conflicts between sober and intoxicated military personnel. This is reported by the Atesh partisan movement. Atesh agents within the 108th Airborne Assault Regiment of the Russian Army are recording a complete breakdown of discipline among personnel in the Zaporizhia direction and deaths caused by alcohol. With the approach of winter, the daily need for alcohol has turned the unit into a formation incapable of performing combat missions. The so-called 100 grams have turned into liters, and the regiment has become a hotbed of alcoholism. The Post says it is noted that new soldiers are dying not from bullets, but from alcohol poisoning. The command deliberately hides the situation. Drunk soldiers are a convenient resource. They don't ask questions and go on the assault under the influence. The partisans report, according to the Atesh movement, this provokes harsh conflicts with sober fighters. Intoxicated ones expose them to attack. They make noise, shine flashlights, shoot into the air, fall asleep at their post, forget their weapons, and even open fire on their own. While independent media have documented the growing mental health crisis, Russian researchers are now starting to publish data that quantifies the scale of the problem. One study, conducted by 16 psychiatrists and medical researchers, surveyed 140 servicemen treated at Moscow Psychiatric Hospital No. 1 between 2023 and 2024. The average age of these soldiers was 34. Some had fought in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region long before the 2022 full-scale invasion. Roughly half of the participants were diagnosed with PTSD upon admission. The most common symptom, reported by more than 70% of respondents, was intrusive memories of combat. Russian servicemen sometimes share the psychological toll the war has taken on them on social media. How do I get discharged on medical grounds? More precisely, how do I prove to my commanders that I'm not stable and my mind is slipping? One soldier asked on the VKontakte social network. 3 years without rest or family, and sometimes during combat, you just lose it. I need a psychiatrist or a sanatorium. Another soldier who managed to obtain a medical discharge described recurring nightmares. For 2 months, I've been waking up in a cold sweat from the same dream. I'm captured. I watch my comrades get killed, and then I'm killed too, he said, adding that a psychiatrist declared him unfit for military service. Relatives of soldiers have echoed these accounts of PTSD, violent outbursts, and addiction in online support groups. Some seek real help for their loved ones, while others look for addiction specialists willing to treat servicemen discreetly without consequences. A Russian psychologist who works with veterans told the Moscow Times that heavy drinking often stems from anger and alienation. They feel rage at the indifference of civilians who go on living their lives without knowing what war is. The psychologist said, speaking on condition of anonymity. One special military operation hero told me he didn't leave his house for 2 months so he wouldn't beat someone up. He drank the whole time until he realized he was becoming an alcoholic. Other factors that push soldiers toward alcohol include PTSD flashbacks, a sense that their lives are futile without combat missions, and an uncertain future, the psychologist said. The soldiers she described had injuries that made returning to the front out of the question. When servicemen are treated in Moscow, passers-by on the street may thank them for their role in the war, but in smaller towns they feel people turn away from them, as if their contribution means nothing, she said. In addition to PTSD and alcoholism, psychiatrists have started studying suicidal behavior among returning soldiers.